What if the car you laughed at in the parking lot could outrun your hero car, stock, no mods, straight off the showroom floor? We're not talking about some hidden Japanese gem, not a Civic with a secret, not an Evo or an STI with rally pedigree baked in, not even a BMW with a silky straight six and a badge that buys respect on arrival. No, we're talking about a Dodge Neon, a Neon, the SRT-4. Factory turbocharged, front-wheel drive, cheap interior, loud as hell, and faster than cars that cost twice as much. This is the story of the most disrespected giant killer of the 2000s. To understand why the SRT-4 existed, you have to understand the era. The early 2000s were the golden age of accessible performance. Subaru had the WRX, Mitsubishi had the Evo, Honda's aftermarket was a religion. And if you had real money, you bought a Corvette and called it a day. Dodge looked at this landscape and made a decision that was either brilliant or insane, possibly both. They took the Neon, a car best known for being forgettable, and handed it to their street and racing technology division. Not to refine it, not to make it comfortable, to make it fast. The mission was simple: build the most performance per dollar you could drive off a dealer lot. And here is the thing, nobody asked for this. The Neon had no enthusiast following, no tuner culture waiting in the wings. It was an economy car with a reputation for cheap build quality and anonymity among rental fleets. Dodge was not answering demand. They were picking a fight. The base ingredients weren't promising on paper. A 2.4-liter inline-4, front-wheel drive, a curb weight around 2,900 pounds. In a world worshipping all-wheel drive turbo sedans and rear-wheel drive V8 muscle, the SRT-4 had exactly zero credibility walking through the door. But Dodge wasn't interested in credibility. They were interested in results. Here's where it gets interesting. That 2.4-liter four-cylinder, the EDZ-based engine, got a Mitsubishi TD04LR turbocharger bolted to it, pushing 14 pounds per square inch of boost through an air-to-air intercooler. The result? 215 horsepower and 245 pound-feet of torque in the 2003 model. By 2004, Dodge bumped it to 230 horsepower and 250 pound-feet with revised calibration and better airflow. But here's the kicker, the torque. 250 pound-feet hit at just 2,400 revolutions per minute. That's not a peaky wait-for-it power band. That's immediate violent shove. In a car weighing under 3,000 pounds, that low-end hit was devastating. 0 to 60 came in around 5.3 seconds. The quarter mile was the low 13 seconds, stock. All of that in 2003 for under $21,000. To put that in perspective, a C5 Corvette ran similar quarter-mile times. An Evo 8 was in the same neighborhood. A WRX STI was slower. And all of those cost significantly more. The SRT-4 was showing up to a fight it was not invited to, and it was winning. The bottom end was sturdier than anyone expected. Forged crankshaft, oil squirters for piston cooling, a strong iron block that could handle boost levels well beyond factory spec. Dodge's engineers didn't just build a tune, they built headroom. Whether they intended it or not, they gave tuners a foundation that could take serious abuse. And tuners figured that out fast. A basic Stage 2 setup with a downpipe, boost controller, larger injectors and a tune could push the SRT-4 past 300 wheel horsepower without cracking the engine open. Bolt-on builds that hit 350 wheel horsepower were common. Guys running built internals and bigger turbos were cracking 500, 600, even 700 plus horsepower on the stock block. For a platform that started life as a Neon, that is absurd. Crazy, right? The aftermarket exploded. Companies like AGP, Turbo, Modern Performance and Mopar itself offered parts specifically for the SRT-4. It became one of the cheapest ways to go genuinely fast in the early 2000s, a grassroots hero for people who could not afford an Evo but refused to be slow. Now here's the crazy part: what it actually did on the street. There are hundreds of forum threads, YouTube clips and drag strip time slips documenting SRT-4's walking Corvettes, Mustang GTS and bolt-on 350Zs, not fluke runs. Repeatable, consistent pulls where a Dodge compact costing under $25,000 embarrassed cars with twice the displacement and 3 times the ego. At the track, they showed up in autocross and road course events, punching into classes they had no business being in. And the experience behind the wheel, it wasn't refined. Nobody's pretending it was. The torque steer was legendary. Stamp the throttle and the steering wheel tried to rip itself out of your hands. The ride was stiff. The interior was hard plastic and optimism. The exhaust was loud enough to announce your arrival 2 blocks early. But that was the point. The SRT-4 wasn't trying to be a gentleman's sports sedan. It was a weapon with a neon wrapper, raw, unfiltered, and completely unapologetic. You didn't drive it because it was pleasant. You drove it because it was alive. Every gear pulled hard. Every boost spike was an event, and every stoplight was an opportunity. It turned mundane commutes into something genuinely exciting, and it did it for the price of a well-optioned Camry. So if it was this fast, this tunable, this affordable, why does it not sit in the Hall of Fame next to the Evo and STI? Brand prejudice. Pure and simple. The neon badge was poison. Enthusiasts could not get past it. In a culture that worshipped JDM heritage and European engineering, a Dodge compact was a punchline before it was a contender. The Ricer label stuck. Ironic, given that it was one of the few American-built cars legitimately competing with the imports on their own terms. It did not help that Dodge killed it after just 2 model years with no successor. No second generation, no evolution. The SRT-4 arrived, proved its point, and disappeared before it could build the generational loyalty that made the Evo and STI into legends. There was no WRC heritage, no motorsport mythology, no decade-long rivalry to romanticize, just raw performance with an expiration date. And the enthusiast community moved on to cars with better reputations and worse power-to-dollar ratios. But here's the thing, the people who owned them, they know. Walk into any SRT-4 forum that's still active and you'll find owners with 200,000 miles on original blocks, guys still chasing power on a platform most of the world forgot. The SRT-4 community is small, loyal, and completely unbothered by what the broader car world thinks. The Dodge Neon SRT-4 isn't just a fast economy car. It's proof that performance doesn't need permission. It doesn't need a luxury badge, rear-wheel drive, or cultural approval to be legitimate. Greatness doesn't come from reputation. It comes from execution. And sometimes, the loudest, most disrespected car in the parking lot is the one that understood performance better than everyone else.